interest rates too, so.
Not a separate with 50,000.
Yeah, no kidding.
So basic now.
I can't believe it, those things aren't just flying off the market, they set it like all homes.
I think they're gonna start, I'm starting to see houses pretty close to come down, so hopefully. Because they don't want some people to.
Yeah.
Want to move into something like that.
Right now, it's.
It's you and it's the division. Can you hit that part where it just goes?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We'll see. It might make it happen.
Balance.
Amanda, Hank and Danielle and Heather. I talked to you and Laura with Caitlin the other day. Were you with her? Sorry, that's the other side of me.
Is it still just the Anne Marie? Is it still just the symbol up there? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Really?
10,115 students.
You're like
Kindergarten's not season one. One to each, I think, only two, if you want to talk about that.
we got a couple more on this meeting.
I heard, actually, I heard that. No, no, it's. Whatever.
Just so you know. If Casey comes in the that film machine. Just, it's okay, just know ahead of time because. I just. It's very sensitive. It's like this gets live streamed to YouTube. And does, but just know, so it's better to go ahead of time and be like, oops. I know from experience. So.
Because the germ factory
I would like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order. Everyone would please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and is available to watch on both our YouTube and Facebook pages. All right, so moving into our regular business, we will start with the approval of the meeting minutes for August 15th of 2024. So, I didn't amend the motion on the page. Apologies for that, but I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 15th, 2024 as written. Motion by Danielle, second by Heather. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. And next we move on to bills and payroll, and I would entertain a motion to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented. So moved. Motion by Heather, second by Danielle. Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained, and I say yes, so that is also unanimous. Well, this evening we have some guests and our new student representative. So I will hand this over to Dr. Casavan for a quick introduction of our new student rep. Were you not prepared?
You know how we're writing that, so. Thank you, Madam Chair. It is my pleasure to introduce you to this icon, who is a senior in class of 2025. What office do you hold?
President.
President. And I want to make sure I have the, I'm president, because I know that it was a very close vote. It was a very close vote. It was a great, I've heard her speech. It was wonderful. So we're very fortunate to have her represent basically the 1,470 some odd students here will be the voice of those students, and we really couldn't have asked for a better representative. She's quite wonderful and very articulate. So I will certainly yield for any comments that she might have.
Well, we look forward to your report. Do you have anything to share with us this evening?
I had a list. I don't do that. I'm sorry.
I don't know how I'm left.
You sure?
Yes.
Do you remember, just Amanda, do you know what?
I wrote down about all the fall sports have started. They've all started really well too. We have our first or second football game today, and soccer is today too. So good luck to them. I don't know how they're doing right now. Also a lot of clubs have started, so I'm hoping those will go really well too. And we have all the honor societies getting together now too, so like I hope they go well too.
That's fabulous.
How did Warrior Fest shows?
Oh, it was really fun. I had so much fun at the Warrior Fest. I worked at some of the booths, and it seemed like other kids were enjoying it too. Also homecoming went really well. I think there was like not a lot of commotion or anything. It went smooth.
And then we have a reminder coming for you.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I also wrote some stuff down about the middle school because I talked to Ms. Parker about what's going on in the school, and student council for them had their first meeting today. Also a lot of their clubs have started, and intramurals are now going, and they have dodgeball. And they had so many kids sign up for them that they had to split into 3 groups, which I thought was good that we're getting more student participation doing like clubs and stuff. Also, a lot of the first games for middle school sports were today, and I feel like we've had 2 or 3 games. I think everyone's been pretty smoothly so far, but it's like the first 2 weeks of school, so we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with our middle school folks as well, because it's great to hear from the whole school and find out what's going on. So lots of exciting things to kick off the school year. That's great. Very blood Molly, which is I'll be sorry, we all, trust me, I had to have Hank walk me through the first time I was cherry, so. We all need help, yeah, more than once. He gets called a lot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in other news, right, in other changes, as we know, Ms. Saltizik moved on to another position as the TDS principal. Luckily, and thankfully, Ms. Marcy Muslim, she stepped up into the breach and is our principal interim for this year. We're very happy after spending a year last year as the assistant principal. So the minute she was hired, she made the arduous task in the middle of summer to find well, her replacement. And of course, you can't possibly replace Ms. Muslim, but pretty darn close. But so I introduce you to Ms. Casey Putnam, who will go through, I'm sure they'll both kind of give you the trajectory of their very long and esteemed careers, but we're very lucky to have them both. I don't know if we're going to go into it later today about our opening day PD. I've never seen, nor have I read more effusive praise about two folks and 2-day professional development, because we all know how much teachers love to be in professional development during August. So with that, I would like to introduce, well, Ms. Rasmussen, you obviously know, but Ms. Casey.
Hi, everyone. Thrilled to be in the position. I think every day I just realize more and more that I found my home. This is my 19th year in education, I think. I've done a whole variety of things, from being a one-on-one to building sub to classroom teacher to special ed teacher to assistant principal and now principal. So I'm just really excited. I think the year is off to a great start. Our staff is happy, our kids are happy. We're looking forward to, continuing with our PD goals for this year and getting really into UDL and continuing to build upon, our HMH PD that we've been working on, really getting back into, tier 1 instruction consistently. So we're excited. I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
And for our non-acronym friends, UDL.
Yes, so UDL is Universal Design for Learning, which is one of our PD goals as a district for this year. And HMH is our reading program and literacy program into reading.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're so excited to have you in this position in the district.
Thank you.
And
Hi, everybody. So like Dr. Catherine said, my name is Casey Putnam. I am so thrilled to be here and hired and part of this community again. I grew up just in Winchendon, so it's so nice to kind of come back home. I felt extremely welcomed by everybody and saw a lot of familiar faces, which is always really nice. And just like, Marcy said, it just really does feel like a home and a community. So thank you for all of the warm welcome. And I'm just really excited to continue our mission and work together and build, great year ahead of us.
thank you so much. We're so excited that you could come and join us and take a minute to introduce yourselves. It's fabulous to have you part of the district. And I've only heard good reports from my second grader, so you're already off to a great start.
Perfect, love it. But that's what we're aiming for.
So excellent. Well, welcome. Any questions for the principals? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. You're more than welcome to stay, but if you have other obligations this evening, we also understand if you need to duck out.
Yeah,
Maybe
at front board.
Yeah.
We understand.
I don't
Madam Chair, they decided to stay. They told me they wanted to stay. They almost demanded it. It was so, I fully expect them to stay for the entire.
Dr. Cassidy is gonna go do all of the drop-offs for us.
I also.
Yeah.
You can stay for 3 minutes.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay, I don't see anyone present for public input tonight, and so we will move on to Ms. Parker and NDEA updates.
So, NDA
Just across the district, it sounds like, all of us have been off to a really good start. Many new teachers, I know at the elementary school, I'm sure they can nod their heads if they want, well, with their week. I've done wonderful reports about your new hires.
Yes, yeah, everybody's been fantastic so far, so
Yeah.
we're thrilled to have everybody on board.
Yeah, so sounds good. No complaints on my end from anyone either, so that's a good sign.
Thank you.
And I'm part of the mentoring program, so I get to be in the monthly meetings with them, and they just have so much energy and so much to add and so much to offer, so it's off to a great start in that way. Just very busy, we've done all of our beginning of the year star testing. I think everyone's in the middle school anyway, no, we're done. Had a few straggling, students who've been out that we had to make up, so that's done. So really just moving back into, it's like back to the grind. Everyone seems to be back to the grind. And actually talking with Amanda, today, because she's also my intern. She's been my intern for 2 years. So we're going to kind of try to hook the middle school and high school together a little better on spirit days, because we do our spirit weeks, they do theirs. We won't do it all the time, but maybe jump in on some of them just to make our kids feel inclusive with the high school and feel connected to those. Because a lot of those kids are their role models, especially the student athletes. So it's actually great that she's with me and she's in this position, so we're gonna get a lot accomplished.
That's fabulous. How great. Well, welcome back to everyone. We're so excited to be back. It's been already a really busy start to the year. And yeah, just really excited to see all the energy out there. So definitely seeing that. It's awesome. Great. Okay, moving right along. We have our FY25 budget update. Anything to discuss?
Nothing new, we're waiting sometime in the fall, we should be getting our rural aid number, but it seems to be getting later and later in the year, so we'll see what that brings when it arrives. So
That's the things.
yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into the reports. There's not a lot of activity on them, as you can see, because we're just getting started. We did apply for all of our entitlement grants, so those have been applied for, those are starting to become up and running and stuff. And big thing I need to report on is our bus contract expires on June 30th this year, so I need to put it out to bid this fall so we can get a number for the budget. Part of the bid process, the procurement laws, is anything beyond like a 3-year contract that you want to do, we have to have approval from our governing body, which is you, to put out for a 5-year bid, which is typically what we do. I have not remembered us doing anything less, but it's kind of just like housekeeping, but I would appreciate it if you could allow that, and that way I can get this out this fall, to get the numbers back in time for budget.
Okay, it's a little bit later on in our agenda, but we suppose we could move it up and get it done since we're talking about it right now. Anyone opposed to moving that agenda item up to this moment?
It's fine.
All right. So understanding that, I would entertain a motion to allow our business manager to begin the process of putting out a bid for a 5-year contract for school bus transportation. Motion by Hank. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments for Anne Marie about the process or the 5 years itself? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that's unanimous, and we have one future piece of business done. All right. Anything else you wanted to share, Anne Marie?
No, there's not very much activity on the normal monthly reports, so I think that's.
Okay, great. So moving on to our next agenda item, I did want to share publicly that we did have a letter of interest for the Phillipston position from Ms. Chrissy Hazlitt. The letter is attached. That said, she does hold several different positions within the town of Phillipston, and so basically, I'm not an expert on conflict of interest law, but to try to explain it, there are limits on the number of positions that any one person can hold within the town, and then within adding in a district, school district, it adds additional complications. And so what we've advised her to do is to have a call with the Ethics Commission. They have a free hotline. So anyone can call and get professional legal advice as an individual. She has to do that herself. We cannot do that on her behalf. So she is doing that, and following up on that so that we can figure out whether or not, this is an application that we can entertain. But, you know, I absolutely want to extend my thanks to her for putting her interest out there. This position has been open for a while, so truly thankful for her interest in her letter. And we hope to be able to come back to that next month, or to report back on what the Ethics Commission reported. Any questions from anybody down there? All right, moving on to curriculum and instruction update. What do you have for us this evening?
Sure, so I have an update on our opening day professional development and then our general goals for PD for the school year. So I'm gonna unpack some of the acronyms you've heard.
Excellent.
So to start off, we had a fabulous opening with staff. You know, I don't know if the 10-week summer vacation leading up to the start of school year helped. I would anticipate it did, but I will say folks just came back so refreshed, so happy, so eager to welcome the kids. And our opening PD feedback was really positive, as Dr. Cassidy mentioned earlier. So one of the things we did this year, every 3 years, there's a state requirement for public schools to hold in-person training for all staff on suicide awareness and prevention. And so as part of our opening day PD with all staff, we had a guest speaker from Haywood come in, and he did a fabulous job talking about a very sensitive and difficult topic sometimes to talk about. We got a lot of positive feedback from staff about that particular training as well, as our additional trainings that our building principals and administrative team put on. So we had opportunities during opening faculty meetings. All of our staff had a chance with their building principals to unpack some of the new handbook language, specifically around discipline and dress code, and what the practices would need to look like to adjust in their particular buildings and grade levels. All of our teachers have a chance to engage in professional development around universal design for learning, which you heard UDL is the acronym, because we love acronyms. We'll probably add that to our acronym spreadsheet if it's not already there.
It's all in there.
Well done.
But universal design for learning is a framework for thinking about curriculum design and instruction to really meet the needs of all learners. So it takes into account potential barriers to learning for students and variability of students in front of you. So it's a way of thinking about how you present firm goals and flexible means for what you're teaching, why you're teaching it, and how you're teaching it. That's a very much a summary of what that is. But we had a chance to introduce or review that with staff, because some staff are not new to this framework. At the beginning of the year, our special education teachers all engaged in a training with our new pupil service director, Corey, whom you met last week, feels like last week, at our last meeting, to really unpack the new IEP. So while we provided training at the end of last year, it's going to be a theme throughout this year for that population of folks, because it's a change in their practice, it's a change in the format in our systems, and we really want to make sure that they're supported through that process. And then lastly, for our opening day, our professional development, paraprofessionals all engaged in behavioral de-escalation training. So we did a nice job, I think, really meeting some very meaningful groups in our system. So as we go through this year, our big buckets for professional development will include universal design for learning, which connects to some of the data points you may recall from our SOA plan, our Student Opportunity Act plan. We also will be continuing a thread for our special education staff and service providers on the new IEP as we go through the year, to make sure that any needs that come up as we go through the process of actually utilizing that process, we have opportunities and space to work through those. In addition to that, there's going to be some additional work at the elementary school around their reading curriculum. So HMH stands for Houghton Mifflin Hardcourt. That's the publishing company
that produces Into Reading, which is our reading program. And so the teachers have been asking for quite a while to really get some support on the writing side of that. And so we're bringing in some trainers from that company to help them unpack their curriculum and really think about how they use the tools that they have access to meet the needs of the students in front of them for writing. And then additionally, at the high school level, we'll be doing some preliminary work to really unpack and look more specifically at their written curriculums as we're preparing for our next round of NEASC accreditation, which is our high school's accreditation process. So those are our big buckets as we go through the year, and our opening take PD feedback, as Dr. Casmant mentioned. We had more written comments in our PD feedback forms this year than we've had looking back as long as I can see in our system. And very, very positive, particularly about our principals and assistant principals that delivered the PD.
Any questions for Mr. Supergy?
Is Into Reading new for the district, or is that what you've been using for?
It's not new. It was put in place, I believe it was put in place during the 1920 school year. So it was put in place and then COVID hit. Is that correct? Yeah, 1920 school year. So when teachers had the initial training, then they were sent into this virtual learning platform. Everything sort of changed. So it was challenging for them to implement. And then when they came back, the learning needs of students were different and a little bit more intense. And so we've been working last year to redesign sort of what is the structure of reading lessons and how do we use those resources. And now we're moving from that to the writing component.
There's a digital and a paper component, right? There's like the workbooks and the.
Correct. There's a lot of components in the program. And so teachers have access to all of those. We have online components. We do have, we purchase hard copies of the level libraries, the teachers manuals, the student workbooks as well. So there's.
One more question.
Both.
Are they a map test or are they gonna STAR test?
No, we use STAR. Yeah. I should have that data for you for the next meeting. Lisa mentioned that earlier.
Like our NWEA map testing talks to HMH products.
Correct, but what we do have is our analytic view platform pulls our STAR data and our I say HMH because it pulls from the platform that's associated with the publishing company. But that data gets pulled in from that. So we do have a system to look at that data.
I knew you would.
But as Lisa mentioned, we are just wrapping up our benchmark assessment windows. Most of our schools have finished up. Our window ends tomorrow, so there's a few lingering makeup tests. And our kindergarten will be testing through next week because for their first benchmark assessment window, we gave them a little grace that some of them coming in are brand new to school. And so, pushing that back a little bit lets them acclimate to school before we're asking them, to identify letter sounds and names. So, okay.
Great. Moving into new business, we do have some surplus items this evening. Susan, anything specific to share about those surplus items?
Yeah, just a quick note. I spoke with our nurse leader and I was curious what brought about these surplus items and then combined some of the nurses' offices, and that's where these are from. Most of them are in fair to good condition. Just for example, like the crutches, it says 5, those aren't like 5 sets, those are just different crutches. That's not 5 crutches. And of course, we'll offer them to the towns, but she did say if there's no takers, then there's a listserv that nurses are on, and she's happy to put them on that. That's pretty much. That's about it.
Okay, any questions about those surplus items? No. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the following surplus items submitted by the health office. 2 bell-tone audiometers, 1 health-o-meter scale, 5 assorted crutches, 1 stadiometer, 1 magnifying light, and 1 lamp light. So moved. Motion by Heather. Second by Kat. As I already asked for questions and there were none, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is also unanimous. Okay, so we're moving into, we have some first reading and second reading of policies, and so I am going to hand this over to. Yes, I am, to our operations, district operations subcommittee for just a quick overview of what we have in front of us, and then I will take it back for motions.
So for first reading, we have three policies relating to Title IX. The first one is AC, non-discrimination, including harassment and retaliation. This one was the big one. It's the update. The update to the policy includes a title change. The district did have an option to see the NASC version, but they felt better about going through a version that's gone through legal. It's more robust than the NASC presented one. And that was the feeling of the subcommittee as well. ACA, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. The district recommendation was to adopt the MASC version, then the subcommittee agreed. ACAB, sexual and sex-based harassment and retaliation. This is another policy with a title change. And again, the recommendation for both district and the subcommittee was to adopt the MASC version. And we're also looking back at the athletic concussion policies, JJIF-R. This one was some unfinished business from back in February of 2024. And this policy was the one that we had to look at a title change and also just some content change. There was some unintentional repetition in the document. So that had to go back to the subcommittee for revision and review again. So those are for our first readings.
All right, thank you. So we'll put the motion on the table and then we'll go to questions or comments about those. So I would entertain a motion to accept the following for first reading as presented. AC, proposed update, non-discrimination, including harassment and retaliation. ACA, proposed update, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. ACAB, proposed update, sexual and sex-based harassment and retaliation, and JJIF-R, proposed update, athletic concussion policy. Motion by Danielle. Second by Kat. And now I'll open the floor for any questions or comments about those updates or changes. I'll give it a minute, because they're long. Kat, is there anything you wanted to add? I know that you also sit on that subcommittee.
No, I guess my biggest question was in the subcommittee was based around the privacy of students that get to talk with the counselor and that they can come forward. I bet Molly can talk about this a little bit better than me, but my question was basically like, are they, I was happy that they have someone confidential to talk to within the school district, because sometimes that can feel like alienating. However, those counselors are still required to report to legal authorities when it's appropriate. And so that was basically my concerns were around that.
And that will be included in the process that we put in place, but which we can't do until the policies are voted.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
And I just want to clarify, it may not be counselors, but it's any person the district identifies. It's likely that would be the case, but just it's not all counselors, it's an identified person per building.
Okay, so it's an identified person per building. Correct. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may.
Of course.
I wonder if it's appropriate, just given that we're in the throes of the new school year. That is possible to waive the second reading, so that way we can, put these in play sooner rather than later.
So I would want the subcommittee to weigh into that, since they're the ones who have done the work, like based on the degree of changes. Are you comfortable with waiving the second reading? And then Hank, see, I'm gonna ask for help. How would I revise, how would we move this to second reading as opposed to first reading?
Get the
Vote on
start
first reading.
reading through.
I think these are personally from my point of view as the subcommittee, one of the subcommittee. people. I think they're important. I think these are really hefty laws that we should abide by, some serious things that we could be protecting kids from, and so I would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, especially with the policy, and you see that, like I said, legal's gone through it. They looked at the first version and said, I feel like we should add a few more things, so it's a much more robust version. I think we're in good hands.
All right,
Motion to waive accept.
okay, but do I need to do anything with the motion that's on the floor right now? Because we already have a motion on the floor for the first reading.
So,
Well, we can pass that and
Okay.
then going to waive the second.
Okay, so we're gonna take the initial motion off the floor and instead replace it.
Well,
Yeah.
you can do the first, you can.
Okay,
accept
so
the
complete the first motion and then add a motion to accept the.
Second.
Thank you, Hank. See, we all learn as we go. All right, so questions have been asked, additional information has been given. We're gonna vote on the motion to accept the first reading first, and then we will move on. So I had a first, Susan help me, I had a first by Danielle and a second by Kat. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes. And I would entertain a further motion to accept the same for second reading as presented. Those being AC proposed update, non-discrimination including harassment and retaliation, ACA proposed update, non-discrimination on the basis of sex, ACAB proposed update, sexual and sex-based harassment and retaliation, and JJIFR proposed update, athletic concussion policy. So moved. Motion by Heather, second by Kat. Any further questions or comments related to second reading?
No, but we did talk about how the lawyer went over all of this and like gave us language, and so it has been reread and reread.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, and I say yes. So those have passed first reading as well as second reading. And thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Sorry, I did that right.
So. All right, so we additionally do have a second reading of the JJIF, not to be confused with the JJIFR policy. This is a proposed update to the main concussion policy, and Heather, is there anything you wanted to point out about this?
This one is our second reading, so we did a first reading, don't hold me on it, I think did we decide it was March? We had looked back at school committee meetings, this somehow just said the busyness of ending last year, just kind of just on the table, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the second reading and adopt the policy as presented. Again, that's JJIF, proposed update concussion policy.
So.
Motion by Hank, second by Kat. Any questions or comments about that policy? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that was unanimous. So thank you, that was a lot of work for a first meeting, first policy meeting, so really appreciate all the time and attention that went into that. Thanks so much for also filling us in on your process, so that we could better make sure that we got through not just first, but second reading, really appreciate it. Okay, so we already did our bus contract bid, so we are moving on to item number 5, which is training from MASC. So I actually put this on here. So I have been in touch with Alicia Mallon at MASC, and despite Hank's 51 years, the rest of us are rather junior. 52, this is true, 52. The rest of us, we're still getting up to speed, and as Hank can attest to, there is a lot to learn coming onto school committee. There's open meeting laws, there's this very large book of Massachusetts general laws. There's state ethics commissions, details, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I reached out to Alicia and asked about what is her process for arranging trainings for specific school committees. And what she told me is that the very first step that she likes to do is to send out individual surveys. So each of you will receive the survey in a one-on-one basis. She will then take everybody's input and calibrate it and come back to me with some suggestions and prioritize suggestions as to what she feels we could collectively spend time on as a school committee. She was very lovely to talk to, like really excited to start working with us. So following this meeting, I'm gonna come back to her and let her know to go ahead and send out that survey so we can get everybody's input. And then we will work together to find dates that work for everybody so that we can all come in, and it's rather nice because not only is it a training, but it's also a great space for us to spend time together and work on, get some more business done while also business being like school committee, like goal setting, for example, as is one possible training. So great opportunity, really looking forward to that. It's a great way to build our learning needs specific to this district. We also have the MASC conference coming up in November, so lots of opportunities for learning coming up. And I'm 3 years into this and I'm still learning things, so as you witnessed today. So really excited for that. So be on the lookout for that email. I really appreciate your participation, because the more people we get to fill out that survey, the better input we get, and we make sure that that training is really what we need it to be. And so it's a good use of everybody's time, because I know that this is a big time commitment already. So any questions? All right. Dr. C, it's officially your turn.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I'll start off with, the beginning. School year, it really was very smooth, very well organized. And that's a shout out to all the building principals, administrators, of course, Molly, really heads up all of what we do for those 2 days. And there is quite a bit that we do. A lot of it is mandatory, but that the state, mandates. But, a good portion of it is the things that we need to either improve on or we've identified as an area that we need to strengthen. So it was wonderful, fantastic. We had a great lunch. Our wonderful cafeteria folks put on yet another great meal. It was good. It was just really, really relaxed and well done by all. So, when we staffing updates right now, staffing updates. So we do have 2 open positions technically. We filled one 6th grade position with thankfully an educator who just retired, and she's come back to help us out at the middle school 6th grade. We've applied for a critical shortage waiver. And what that allows is that it waives the rules around how much money people can make when they're in retirement, especially that they just retire. And a lot of things have to happen before you can even enter into that. And they've all happened. We've posted this job since early May. Is everyone, or if we haven't discussed it, it's been since early May. Folks have either just declined or just pulled their application. So we're moving on that. The other is a fairly new opening. We have a new dean of students. Well, he's not new. Mr. Murphy will fill the dean of students position, but he can't do that until the 4th grade position is open. Until we can fill the 4th grade, his role. So it becomes problematic, especially around this time of year. But all in all, unless I'm missing something, we do have some para positions who have come and gone. But in terms of teaching staff, those are the 2 currently that we have moving forward. One of the things that we separate on quite a bit and focus a lot of attention on is student enrollment. So it is still in flux. I'm going to tell you that things will I guarantee you, change. By the time we report out on October 1 number, we had, I think, 2 families coming today to enroll. So it's always, it's going to be the ebb and flow until probably early November, and it's just how it goes. But one of the things I find interesting is that our total district is 1,465 kids right now. On September 4th, when we pulled this data. Last September, it was 1,479. So one could say, well, you're down a few kids, and that's true. The numbers don't lie. But what I want to make sure that I point out a lot is that these 2 towns, Phillips and Templeton, folks are moving in. We have seen a cooling in the market. We have seen not as many houses being built as we did, say, maybe 2 summers ago. But as we really limit the number of school choice students that we take in, just for the record, there are only 9 school choice students out of 594 kids at TES. There's 9, and they're all in the 4th grade. So the rest of that building is all resident. Okay. But, we also have graduating seniors, we have kids who go to my tech, we have all of this, and then when it all boils down, we're down 22, no, pardon me, we're down 36 school choice students, right? We have a bunch who graduated, and whatever happens, maybe they go back and forth. But we're plus 23 residents. So when you just throw that into the bowl of things, you go, oh, you're -8 from last year over year. Yep. But the numbers that we don't control, which are residents, are coming in still at a clip that is impressive. So we're down to 131 school choice students. Back in 2000, we were at 250. Okay. So we made a conscious effort to go away from that, to start leading there because our class sizes were large. It's now going to start, and we'll talk about school choice, and I think later on, is that we're going to have to start doing we're gonna have to start looking at places to actually accept the balance, because we can't drop much lower than where we're at. We still have expenses that come out of school choice. We'll never be able to balance the budget with school choice, and I've never claimed that. But we do need to keep a certain number in there to make sure that we balance in and out. I don't know what our school choice out is. That report, I think, is done sometime in December. We'll know, because we eventually will see the report. But again, in December is the real telltale. So I say this just to say that we are growing residentially. How about if I put it that way, in terms of residents, at a pretty good clip. And it just really is, it's an interesting thing to watch, because we were actually shrinking as a district, but in terms of residents, we are growing, I think. I don't want to overstate, but by leaps and bounds for sure. So more to come on that. October 1 is our big number. That's the number that we let her die by, because that's the number that is how our funding is, when we chapter 70, etc. So we'll more on that as we go. Was it August 20? Well, everybody was off on the Friday before Labor Day. Some of us were here, and we were lucky enough to give the MSBA a tour of our roof. By we, I mean our facilities people, because Anne Marie and I weren't going on the roof. Okay, so that was just how that worked out. But as you know, we've been invited into the program. I sent an email out, I believe it was late last week, to kind of explain. We'll know in October if we're invited in. There's a feasibility study that needs to be funded. They gave us some parameters in which how much that would cost. It's not big dollars, but my recommendation is that we go forward with that, so we can learn exactly what is wrong with the roof. We've already been invited to the program once. I think it was back in 2014 or 15. We see no reason why we will not be invited back in this time. but there's more to come on that. So I'll just, if there's an update, I'll give it, but they've been very clear that we probably won't hear anything till the end of October. So let's see, we've got after school programming. So oftentimes I will receive emails from concerned parents, guardians about like, what can we do for fifth grade? It's generally surrounded around fifth grade. It's kind of that tweener year in which, a lot of folks don't feel comfortable leaving their fifth grader at home, say alone, but there's really nothing to do. And so we've gone back and forth on this over the last, say, 9 years since I've been here. And the simple fact is that there's just, we just don't have the capacity to do an extended day for fifth grade. For example, right, or the middle school. We just don't have the people, and we're barely covering the folks that we have pre-K to 4. We tried this in the past. It worked a little, and then people started to go do other things, and you have a bunch of kids who you're responsible for. I'm very aware of the late bus and how full they are, because the after school activities are huge. Just as a reminder, our largest class, probably in the last 10 or 15 years anyway, 130 some odd kids, they're in the 6th grade, make up a good portion of probably what was in dodgeball that Amanda so eloquently spoke about, in terms of having to split up that many days of intramurals. We're getting large, we're getting bigger, right? But I do want to just say that for the record, it's just, we have tried it, it just we haven't been able to really staff it. And it's difficult at that age. What would you do if they were still at TES? Well, I suppose that they would be part of the TES, extended day program, but given the number of kids, I don't know if we would ever find enough staff if the staff would be the same. So we are cognizant of it. We tried last year toward a grant, or we were just too late in getting a grant opportunity. Took a lot of information it would have provided some relief for those middle schoolers, those between ages. The grant was what was the grant?
That was the century,
Yeah.
21st century grant.
21st
It's a competitive grant. We didn't quite meet all the qualifications in some areas. And the timeline for us to be able to, because we would have to connect with all of our private schools, sending private schools where we have residents to. And we did a big chunk of work on the grant, and we're quite able to pull that off by the deadline.
And so kind of in a weird, these are corollaries, when we start talking about, well, we have all these kids, we can't find enough adults for them one day, right? A couple of things have happened where, if you read the paper today, we made the paper, if you didn't notice, they talked about the lack of a soccer program. And, Mr. Bond, our athletic director, myself, I know that, we've been dealing with this since middle of August, and, there just was not a lot of students who signed up to play, whether it be 7 or it be 9, those numbers kind of flux. I think that, in speaking with Mr. Cerrone, who was the coach, I think certainly he thought he had a lot more participation than he ended up having. And it just couldn't happen. And it was really, honestly, almost too late to do anything else. We did reach out to Winchendon for a co-op. They only had 3 kids signed up, but by that time it was really just too late. So, we need to have a better plan, I think, because we have fought this fight for a little bit in terms of whether we're competitive, or if we even have enough students. I think last year, and I'm going to say, I think, because I can't recall, but I believe we only had 11, and it takes 11 to play. And I don't know that we had, I don't think we had a bench. If we did, we had 1 or 2. That's just not, a safe way to play, to be very candid. And so we're thinking about some options about where can we go to help build this program. And I think one of the areas we're going to explore, quite frankly, is to, in essence, not have a varsity program, but have a JV program. And so what you do is you kind of enter into kind of an agreement with the MIAA, I guess, and you say, look, we're not gonna have the varsity program for 2 years, but we are gonna have a JV program. And that way you can build from, from the bottom, competing at a level in which you can become better. I know that people often say you don't get better unless you compete against those who are better than you. If that was true, then the Boston Celtics, my fifth grade travel team should play against the Boston Celtics. Do they become better? No. I know that's a bit of a reach, but when you have kids who just are learning the sport playing against kids who have played their entire lives, it doesn't become a learning experience. So one of the things we're going to look into, we haven't decided anything, of course, but we do have the numbers are pretty healthy in the 8th grade, at the middle school level. So we're going to look at that possibility, and we've reached out to some other athletic directors, and who've had to do this type of thing, and they highly recommend it because it does build from the bottom. And so that's what you're trying to build up. So that way, when you do enter into varsity play, you are prepared to play varsity level, in this case, soccer. Our nearest example, somebody asked me, give me an example, Gardner baseball. Gardner had one of the best baseball teams around, for those of us who are old enough to remember, and they literally had no one. And then they had to cut the program. So they just came out of their 2-year JV program. And I want to tell you, by the end of the season last year, they were formidable. And so it took 2 years to really build that up. Another issue that certainly I don't know if it made the paper, it depends on if it's a slow news day or not, but certainly has made Facebook, is that we did not have a band. We did not have a marching band about that. The reason is that no one applied to be the band. I'm going to call them the band director, but to run the band. This should be year 2. It's the 2nd year in a row. We need to look at that. And, it's not good enough, at least from my perspective, to simply say, well, that's on them. If they can't get, no one can do the bit. We need to look at what the stipends are across the board. We need to look at some other things, but, I know that was met with, and I don't blame folks. They're not very happy about it. It is what it is. We're trying to figure out the reason. And we might need to look at, what are we doing in terms of music instruction across the district, et cetera. We now do have 2 music teachers at the middle school level, which we had for quite some time. So we are very cognizant of it. It was posted, but no one applied, because it's a lot of hours. It's a tremendous amount of hours to do band instruction. We'll just keep moving on to football. So I think it was back in June, I wrote a letter to the community and said, I don't think we're going to be playing Murdoch Thanksgiving. They were not, and by I say they are Murdoch, and they were not confident that they were going to have enough players to sign. And they really couldn't commit to it either way, which made me nervous, because then we're trying to find Thanksgiving Day game, and there's no one. Everyone has a Thanksgiving Day game, except for North Middlesex, who would desperately love to play us because we are fairly close. And so, as the letter said, although it was sad to do so, but this is what my intent was. The MIAA had a completely different view on what I thought should happen. So during I think it was in June or July, they met and voted something like 100-4. I don't know. It was not close that we needed to keep Murdoch on our schedule. Why? Because they're a league game. And if we were to just simply throw away a league game, so to speak, 1, it would not make us eligible for playoffs, but 2, it would give us 1 less league game and it would just really mess things up. So I learned that late in June. I didn't say anything about it, not because I was, worried or anything, or embarrassed. I wanted to see if, in fact, they were going to have a football team. Quite frankly, because we still did not get a commitment. They do. So they have the necessary players. They've played 2 games already this season. Everything looks to be a go. I will message that out. The folks who follow football know that, because clearly that was the buzz And so we will be playing Murdoch home on Thanksgiving. And I, will communicate that out, but I want to just in public session, make sure that folks knew that was the case. Last but certainly not least, the last thing I had is that we did receive a letter. It's called demand to bargain. It really is not a demand. I don't want to make it sound like someone was pounding anything. The NDEA, it's time to, to negotiate the contract. So they did send us a letter. I think, yeah, okay, I just couldn't remember who he CC'd. And so they have already met in their little, in their board, they have their team. And so we need to get together to, at least initially, to figure out what dates will be and rules of the road and et cetera. So, that seems to be it. My chair, so look, I don't think I've missed anything. Do I have to? No. Okay. So we have an MVP video. I'm only messing with them. So I forgot that we have an MVP video. It was done by Miss Ann Lyons, who's not here tonight. Usually she is. That's the program that we're with Monty Tech, as you know, and who is just fantastic at this stuff. Did a little promo, so I would like to share that with everyone. Do you have sound though? Okay, because it's important with the sound. For those of you who don't know, I'll share. What? Robertson, two man.
I was gonna say, logo looks,
Yeah. If it was playing, you'd hear ten or two minutes.
Let me see if I can get that on before. Yeah. I'll start again, please. Sorry about that.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's a little back, it's still muted to the right.
Oh,
Just so you know.
is it on my end?
Yep.
Let me start. Oh, the anticipation. Third time.
Yeah, so it's gone great. I believe our second cohort of the juniors, right? The juniors are now there at Monty Tech this week. So,
And we have officially filled all of our seats.
oh, that's right.
So we're fully filled, and students have reported both incredible engagement and excitement with the shop classes, but equally when they're here, with their MVP teacher, Mr. Supple, who's new this year, they're reporting just really enjoying the model here for academics as well.
That's great. Any questions for Dr. C on his updates? Okay. All right, moving on to school committee comments. Any comments to kick off the year? We missed the state.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we
Yeah,
did.
oh,
Thank you for
thank
calling
you.
that out.
Can you turn the thing? No.
Want to introduce them, Dr. C, or? Okay.
Okay, fine, that. I'm sorry?
Third question on the agenda.
Oh, okay, they're, okay. So I need to be on, sorry. Thank you very much. The out of state field trips. Yep. Most of them, I believe, are Mr. Donfrio's, if I'm correct. One of them is tomorrow. And there's a very good reason. Because our last school committee meeting happened prior to school start. And we've had almost 3 weeks of school. So there was no way to have, and we have been very clear that they just better not just throw these things in too late. So, so I know that that's the one that we're gonna be discussing first. So the first one is, surfing in Newport, is that sounds like fun. The second is, that's surf and boogie board trip. That's the second one? No, that's the first
No,
one.
that's the second one.
That is the second one, sorry, 9/27.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. Then on 11/22/24, they're going to Mount Monadnock to hike. Then on 12/13/24
That date was changed actually to the 19th.
to the 19th. Yep, I see it, 12/19/24, sorry, it's in yellow now. Mount Monadnock hike. Snow, apparently. Then another, if that wasn't enough, 12/20/24, Mr. Donfrey is going up 2 days in a row. Good for him. Let's see, and that is it, Madam Chair, and, pardon me, Madam Chair, and the committee in terms of out-of-state field trips. They have been signed, they have been vetted, they have all of the accoutrements to patch. Thank you.
December hike up Mount Monadnock, brave. I like it. Any questions about those field trips? Seeing none, I'm gonna combine these. I would entertain a motion to approve the out-of-state field trips for the outdoor adventure class to Setchusett Beach in Newport, Rhode Island on September 20th, 2024, and again on September 27th, 2024. And to approve the out-of-state field trip for the outdoor adventure class to Mount Monadnock in Jaffrey, New Hampshire on November 22nd, 2024, December 19th, 2024, and December 20th, 2024.
So
Second. Motion by Danielle, I'll give the second to Kat. I already asked for questions, and as there were none, we will move to vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, and I say yes. So excellent news, they are all set for tomorrow.
thank you.
Okay, so moving on in order of the agenda, there were no items that were not anticipated, that came up within the last 48 hours. So now we can move on to school committee comments. Any comments, from the committee that are outside of the subcommittee reports? Any news or updates?
I noticed, I think a new establishment in the mornings and afternoons over at the high school, middle school, the crossing guard. Oh, that is fantastic. I heard from a few parents and said, wait, did we always have a crossing guard? Having tried to cross before, yeah, that person is a hero, and thank you very much for that.
Well, and I will pass on your appreciation. This is not the first time we've tried to hire a crossing guard. As folks have known, this is the first time actually someone has accepted the position. So with all the parking that we've got going on here right now, it's good that we have that. Yeah. Absolutely. I will pass it along.
Yeah, and thanks for.
We need to get her a chair and stuff, though, I have to say. I feel bad when I pass by and then she's standing there in between students waiting.
She's at alert.
She's standing there at the ready. I'm like, well, I think we need to get her a tent and, she needs her own station.
I know.
I'll go get it. How's
Yeah,
that?
I like her. I like
She can do it.
her. And I understand you better.
All right.
I just want to keep her.
I understand. I understand. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add, I know we talked a little bit about Warrior Fest at the beginning, but
Oh, yeah.
the last couple of years that we've had Warrior Fest have always fallen on a day when I was completely unable to attend because of some family commitment. So this was actually my first Warrior Fest. And I had an absolutely fantastic time. The games were great, the food was great, everybody really enjoyed the fireworks. I even dealt okay with sitting a couple benches up from Dr. C. He behaved himself, so. But it was a fantastic game, a really exciting game, actually. So we were all kind of on the edges of our seat to the end. So many thanks to everybody who put in all the work to make that happen. It is such a special event, and to those of you who, like me, have had to miss it in the past, highly recommend making sure that you make space for it on your calendars for next year. You really feel the spirit of our district at that event. So it was pretty fabulous.
We don't know that we've had that many people there before. The first year was really really packed, but this year there were just people everywhere. It was really packed. It was great to see.
And kudos to the staff who are
Right.
helping to like direct people and, make sure people got tickets and all of that. So it was quite the execution. So thanks to those who ran booths. It was just so much fun. So thanks for that.
It was really nice to see the student support too. There was a lot
Yeah.
of students there in the student section. Like, it's not usual that we, like, obviously for football games, we get a lot of supporters and stuff, but not normally as many students to show up. And there was a lot of even like elementary school kids coming up to watch the games, which is amazing to see. Excited to see more kids show up to our games.
Yeah, it was pretty fabulous.
You guys saw there's a cheer camp coming up this week.
There is cheer camp, I believe, is
I think it's this Saturday at 21st.
yes, 20th and 21st. That's one of their annual fundraisers. It's usually a great event, very well attended, I will tell you. So it'll be great to go down and see our, the cheerleaders of the future. So that's right. At the element, TES, the TES one.
Any other comments? All right, we'll move right into subcommittee reports. Okay, so finance and facilities, so we actually reached out to the towns this year and invited them to each send someone who would be a non-voting member, so that means they attend and they participate in conversations, but the voting is restricted only to the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee. And so we're very excited to welcome Melanie Jackson from Phillipston and Jacqueline McComber from Templeton to those meetings. They were unable to attend this first meeting, but have said that they will certainly be at future meetings. So just to go over some of what we spoke about, we got some pretty extensive reviews of all of the work that's been going on in facilities, from airflow and ductwork in the kitchen cafeteria, to the library getting finished up. And for those of you, if you get a chance to see the library's
so
update,
nice.
it is so nice. It's just a really nice space right now. And very exciting. Lots of discussion around, the TES buildings and some needs for some software upgrades, some more to come on that. We're just trying to do some additional research on those things. There was the generator was fixed with fluctuating voltage, and there's further discussion happening with the town for emergency services. And I think we need to pause because we don't have quorum, so we'll pause.
We can put on, what do you call it? Sorry. Recess, right?
Recess. Yes, we'll pause for a recess, since we only have
We'll have
5 of us to
to start with. I have to remind me to ask Mike how to do this. Even when it gets cold, I mean, it's cold, we gotta move some air in here or something.
I'm comfortable. Usually I'm usually.
Guess you can up to times, about 6:38. Yeah.
You have actually one here.
And we don't listen to eat. Okay, thanks for that. We're back from recess, and the time is 6:40 PM. So just coming back, we were talking about generator work, and so we're in discussions with the emergency preparedness group in Templeton, because that is a discussion to have with them, since this is an emergency building or a building used for emergency purposes. And then one of the things that I thought was especially fantastic is that a small deck was built in the courtyard of the middle school with access directly from the special needs classroom, where they installed a swing, which everyone is enjoying immensely. And that has really been a wonderful addition to that space. I list these, and I'm not even sure I got them all, though they're all in the meeting minutes from that meeting once they're approved after our next meeting. But I say them just to say, this has been a really busy season for our facilities group. There's been a lot of different projects going on, all to the benefit of our building, and of course, Dr. C talked about the roof as well, so lots happening. Kudos to Keith Parker and his entire staff, what they're doing to improve this building and to get things, to get an old building and control things like heat loss, or I forget what he called them, but like zones where there's too much heat or too little, is just fabulous. So really appreciate that. And then the rest of the items that we talked about in finance and facilities was very much covered in Dr. Casavan's updates. So I will skip the rest of those items. And now we will pass this off to our district operations subcommittee, though we did already go over policy. So I'd say if there's anything else besides policy that you wanted to share, we're looking forward to hearing.
I think that was the majority of the business.
I think we're gonna be meeting with Jared,
Yes.
the head of technology, to like review some new policies that are coming in.
Yeah,
But
it was a
other-
slate of technology policies that, there was too much mismatch between the new recommendation policies, Jared's recommendations, and even the titles and names of our policies, so we went back to the drawing board to revamp those for us, so we look forward to that.
And then additionally, I know that you're also looking at so a lot of districts have handbooks for their school committees they're not a policy, they're not, in any way part of governing, but they're just a list of where should people go when they have a question, or to complete a training, or to do that sort of thing, and that's something that's very much missing here. And I know that, Kat, you joined last year, and just making sure you had everything you needed, there's not a list, there's nothing, and so right now, our new school committee members are getting that information very piecemeal, it's not collected in a single space, so thank you for taking that work on as well, as part of district operations. I think having something for our new school committee members will be fantastic, because, I've watched a number of new school committee members struggle trying to figure out board docs sitting at this meeting, and we want to make sure that that's not the case anymore. So, no more rites of passage, let's make it easier for everybody, so appreciate that as well. So Labor Management Committee, I'll give just a very high level update. We have not met with either the labor management or the LMC or the UFCW, the LMC or the WEC. I'm getting all of my acronyms confused now. So WEC is the committee that we have with UFCW. We do have a meeting with them later this month to kick off conversations. As a reminder, what this does is it allows a space for non-contractual discussions. So things that have nothing to do with the actual contract, but that can be improved to help keep relationships on the up and up. Those are executive session meetings. That said, for right now, the LMC, which is with the NDEA, that will actually, the same subcommittee members that sit on labor management committee for these LMC and WEC meetings, they're also involved in negotiations. So it will be the same group of folks that sit in the NDA negotiations once those start. So we'll be, as Dr. C mentioned earlier, we'll be working on getting those schedules. So Narragansett Regional School District CPAC, I'm going to come back to that. I don't know if there's been a meeting this year. But PTO, you just had your meeting, didn't you, Pat? Or
We
is it
did.
next week?
Tuesday, I couldn't go to that one. I
Okay.
had my own open house that night at school, so, I do have notes though from what was, happening. The current balance for our budget is the budget for the PTO is $8,081.67. Meadow Farms is coming back from October 2nd through October 29th. The packets are gonna be delivered the last week of September, so real soon. Our goal is to make $10,000 in profit. There have been 3 requests, Squabbin field trip for 4th grade. Oh wait, no, sorry, I read this wrong. There's been 1 request, the Quabbin field trip for 4th grade. It's been approved, $800 to offset the cost of busing to trip to the Quabbin Reservoir. The busing total is $19.83. And the students will pay $11 per student. Field trips. We're not gonna vote on them until after the Meadow Farms. The previous year's budget has been $1,500 for all of the grades. We will revisit when numbers come back in December. There's gonna be a fall event, which is the Halloween dance, which is new. It's gonna be Friday, October 25th from 5:30 to 7 in the middle school cafeteria. Flyer will go home on the 27th of this month. And there's gonna be an RSVP, so you need to know the numbers. The students can wear costumes. There's gonna be games, snacks, water. What we're looking into is the police officer, custodians, and a potential building use fee, depending on how many people wanna show up. As of right now, it's a free event, but we might have families donate to offset some costs for us. Jess Smith will complete the facility use form, and she's looking into the staff, like police custodian and capacity. Kristen Pecos, I believe is her last name. She's the president or one of the presidents. I think there's 2. We'll create the flyer and get the Google form for their RSVP put together. Other business was basically suggesting to pass out PTO event like flyers at events to increase parent involvement and pass out flyers for the next event. I think there was like a pretty good turnout from what I heard about this meeting, because I did talk to some people about what went on. That at open house, there was quite a few people that had interest in, we gained at least 5 members from that. So that's like, a third more than what we had last year. And our next meeting is Tuesday, October 8th, so.
Okay, so I'm a liaison to the Narragansett Regional School District Student Advisory Council, so our first order of business, which would be getting our student rep, and has been completed, Colby accepted all of the work, 0 right whatsoever. But I'm looking forward to touching base with him and figuring out what that looks like for this year. Last year, the intention was to come in twice with a couple of presentations and give folks a chance to ask questions so that we could kind of showcase what is the work that we do here and how do we do it. So we just need to regroup on what that will look like for this year. So still working, getting that up and running, but also not trying to be too disruptive to the beginning of the school year, because as you have heard, there's 1 or 2 things. Any update from a legislative perspective this evening?
Well, so I missed our last meeting, so Governor Healy signed the budget
end of July, there's lots of increases, especially for our late, but we're still waiting for those numbers, like Dr. C said, MCAS results, the embargo will be lifted next Tuesday, so parents and community members will have that data available, to them. Aside from that, nothing is coming to mind.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we did have correspondence, so we did have, our correspondence for this evening, was actually resignation from school committee. Shauna White, has, left her position as one of the Templeton representatives. Just to read her letter. Dear Dr. Cassavant, please accept this as my official letter of resignation as a current member of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee effective today. I am leaving with a greater respect on what it takes to run a school district. We have amazing teachers and staff that are deeply committed to our students. I will always be proud of the work I did on this committee to move the district in a positive direction in regard to Shauna White. So I just want to extend my thanks to Shauna. She absolutely stepped in over the summer during a really critical interview. She was also, a very strong spokesperson for CPAC as well as, just students with special needs in general, and so she will be missed, but wanted to thank her for her time, and I know that Susan Burning has already reached out to let the town of Templeton know that she left her position, so we do have a second open position, and we will take this up at our next meeting, but we will need to also replace our NRSD representative to CPAC, so please think about that between now and our next meeting, because I will need someone for that. And of course, once we have new members, we'll have more folks. But until then, we will need somebody who's at least liaising with them, even if they can't attend meetings so much like Kat was able to get some notes. But we do want to make sure that our CPAC is still represented here as a committee. So many thanks for that. In the interim, I'll try to reach out and find out what the best way is to get some notes from those meetings. So that completes all of our business for this evening. So the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 17th at 5:30, and I don't believe we need executive session this evening.
No.
We do not, and as such, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Hank. Second by Pat, all in favor? And I say yes, and so we are officially adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.